final series so far. For the winner tonight, a place in next week's grand final against Geelong. It'll mean nothing to any of them, not even Robert Harvey, even though he was 35 days old when they last met in a final. But the Hawks and the Saints have not met in September since the 1971 final series. Now they go into battle for a place against the Cats. Michael Voss, good evening, welcome.
Oh, well, there's nothing better after the national anthem and the adrenaline rush that you get after the crowd roars. Can't wait for this game, should be a beauty.
Nickel call. All right, mate, good luck, mate. Cheers, mate. Nickel call. That's a tail.
So Sam Mitchell wins the toss. And the Hawks kicking to the city end of the MCG. We talked already how it's a cool night in Melbourne. Let's find out a bit more about the conditions down at ground level. Again with Andrew Marr and Mark Howard.
Well, Hutto, just in the last 2 minutes, it's actually started raining. Light rain here, very windy, swirly conditions, so it could be pretty tough to use the ball. Although in saying that, the man they're all talking about, Buddy Franklin, I watched him in the warm-up, Murray. 6 shots at goal, and he kicked 6 straight, the big fella, so he's looking good.
And we saw Lenny Hayes with those back spasms last week. He wasn't fluent in his movement last week. He went down to the rooms that we saw halfway through their warm-up. You've mentioned that it's a chilly night. They're going to have to work overtime on Hayes' back to make sure that that stays loose. It might be a factor a bit later on.
Thank you, boys. Well, your selections, Rob and Vossi, what do you expect to happen tonight?
Well, I'll go the Hawks. I think that they're proven to be the second best team in the competition. I think there's a margin between these two sides. However, the Saints are playing some fantastic football, and we are right in the build-up. There's a lot that hinges on that man's shoulders. He was the man that got him going some 10 weeks ago at Carrara. He's lifted them all away, and that man, well, all year he has been fantastic. Expect Hodgson to get that match up.
Most keenly anticipated final thus far, Vossi. I've gone for the Saints. I need a lot to go right, but they played with terrific spirit. Maxie Hodgson going down into defence. We think he'll pick up Buddy Franklin. He played on him last time, kept Buddy to 3 goals.
He's heading there, Wolsey.
And that was a pretty good effort because a lot of balls directed at this man. He is an awesome presence. He's got the entire 50-metre arc to himself, Buddy. All the other Hawks are up near the centre square.
That is a tumultuous roar of anticipation around the MCG. And we're underway in the second preliminary final. Sam Mitchell couldn't get a look at it. He had the first opportunity, and it's Eddie that gets the first possession. It wasn't all that meaningful. You can see the pressure is right on from the start. Milne has another crack at it, and the Saints just get into attack. Bustling through Ladson. They come from everywhere to jump on top of him. And the umpire says, you should have done more about it, Rick.
He dived on it. He dived on it.
Ladson, who finished the qualifying final with some shoulder problems. And you can see that he's got a bit of tape on the shoulder. But Schneider, who knows all about September action from his time with the Sydney Swans. And straight away you can see a lot of numbers inside the forward 50 as well. And you can also see that they're going to head to Nick Reval a lot. A hand pass out to Lewis. Birchall, already the left foot is getting involved. Now Roughhead has a habit of getting deep to help out. And he's doing that early. In fact, the 2 key forwards both involved and both made a bit of a meal of it. And Kaczynski's kick was zeroing right in there on young Eddie, but he just couldn't handle it. Clark, who was so good last week. King hit and hope that Hayes could get there. It falls for Eddie. He's been at everything so far. Milne straight away feels the heat from Guerra. In the back.
And the intensity is high, as you would expect. As players in the first 5-10 minutes, you still have to be able to control your emotion. Make sure that you don't burn it so early so it doesn't hurt you in the back end.
It's bad free kick there. They had Mitchell over the ball, and perhaps they could have won it themselves. Young takes delivery now, and he puts it in front of Rioli. Now, on his wrong side, but very clever, and quick, and creative. Sewell. He's after Williams, who was held by the jumper. There was a clear tug. Hayden Kennedy, who's umpired more games than any other man, wasn't going to miss that. Sam Gilbert playing on Williams. Graham starting on Rioli, who was so clever, and definite infringement.
First time they've got it in their forward 50, the Hawks, and they've got a set shot at goal. And wasn't Cyril Rioli just electric?
And after St Kilda had a couple of opportunities, it is Mark Williams to have the first real shot, and he steers it across the face.
Can sometimes set a pattern that when you've got a gettable shot like that. There's a big onus on that first player to kick the first goal just to set the pattern for the rest of the team.
There is certainly something about the nerves associated with preliminary finals. We've seen that again on display. Ambitious kick, really trying to find Eddie, and there's Hodge. That was pretty comfortable for Luke Hodge. Committed to his left side. He spotted Lewis, who's away, and another lefty in Guerra. Confronted by Revolt, but not before there could be some damage done. Williams kicked 3 early goals against the Saints last time as the Hawks got away to a flyer. And that is not going to make him feel any better as Hayes gets it across to Montagna, and now Revolt as the Saints press pause on the tape machine for a moment.
So both star forwards have made forays right up the ground in the early minutes. Goddard, a lovely ball. And 50. Almost a certain goal. Trent Crowd, the offender. Schneider, the beneficiary. And the ex-Swan Premiership player.
There wasn't much holding. It was pretty tough, wasn't it? Pretty tough. He's taken the mark. He's wrapped him up. That's a tough call.
Well, was it in the marking contest? I'm with the ump on that one. Don't think he was involved in the contest, and he grabbed him to slow up the play. For mine, that's a free.
Point blank range. Adam Schneider kicks the first to the preliminary final.
To grab a player, you have to be involved in the marking contest. And he's grabbed him, and it's a free kick. It's 50 metres.
It's a fair call, Vossi, I think, but it's a very contentious part of the game at the moment.
It's a harsh penalty. It is a harsh penalty.
It's a very contentious part of the game. This is a very contentious part of our game at the moment.
He's taken the mark. He's moved forward. I think Crowd has every right to stand there and block his run. Vossi and I disagree on it, and that's why the rule, no one's really quite sure which way it should go.
Looking forward to how long it takes for next season before you and Vossi disagree when Vossi goes into the coach's box. I'm sure Vossi is as well.
There's a lot of love up here, Hutto.
Let's watch Bateman, though, as he links up with Mitchell. He just got a kick away. Was it meaningful? It was designed, as you saw, for Buddy, but Stephen King lending not just his experience, but his considerable frame back into defence. Jones, Del Santo and Hayes all involved, but Sewell, the spoiler there, with effect.
Stephen King did very well to get back quickly to get in front of Buddy. You can see there, Max has got hold of him, but King fills the hole.
Now, there's an interference here, or a free kick, an advantage paid, taken by Mitchell. Again, he goes to Buddy. This time it's one-on-one, and Hutchison gets the points. Goddard, they're all getting in to back up. Downfield advantage paid. Gilbert and also Raph Clark flipping it around in defence. Montagna steps up, looking for some run from behind. Clark happy to oblige, and perhaps a little too creative with his efforts there and over-ambitious. Ladson for Lewis, and the Hawks can build again through Brown. And now we watch the wonders of Rioli again. Osborne has been known to fly, stayed on the ground this time. Perhaps he could have had a crack at it in the air. He cops some high contact there. Umpire didn't see it. Mark Williams got a sighter, but he hasn't quite got the radar online.
Gee, St Kilda's done a very bold, interesting move. Now, this is the ball coming in to Buddy, and they are quick to mop up the Saints. They know a lot of ball will be going to Buddy.
Holding, 50-metre penalty.
Relay, 50 metres is the call.
St Kilda have started Jason Blake in the forward line, and I'm sure his role is to cover Luke Hodge. There he is there.
Giving to Montagna, who goes to Revolt, who kept his feet when those around him, namely Gillum, lost theirs, but Gillum recovers well. The big burly Lewis. Guerra forced to retreat. Gillum again, and good vision, sets up Young, who's quick and long of foot, Here they are again, and Hodgson's playing it beautifully early. He's taken all the points so far. Great fighter he is. Franklin knows he's in for a struggle.
Yeah, and there's Blake in picture. He's playing at half forward on Luke Hodge, and his job is to make sure that Hodge is controlled.
A little bit of confusion there from the throw-in. Fisher has to have a couple of cracks at it. Rioli shows them how to do it, and he's 1 of 3. He is driving home on this big stage, isn't he, Rioli?
There's a bit of a blue at half forward for Hawthorn.
Just drawing the high contact. Cyril's kicked 20 goals, 19 for the year coming into tonight. Scoreless against the Saints in round 16. Graham was his opponent for much of that night. Hawks have had a few misses so far, but now they're online and they are away. And you've got to love him.
All on the young man's shoulders. Goes back and delivers. The umpires have set a standard at the start of this game, and they'll pay the free kicks. If they're there, they're not afraid to do it. I think that's a good setup for the game.
Cyril Rioli in picture. Started so well. Jason Graham, his opponent. Kazitsky's gone into the ruck. Stephen King to the bench. It means Revolt's gone to full forward. Jason Blake to centre half forward.
So the Hawks put their noses in front. Renoff rucking for Hawthorn. Bateman at ground level. This is Jones. Hodgson up in the middle. Followed Franklin up. Now Sam Fisher. All Australian this year for the first time. Kazitsky had some anxious moments during the week as a case went before the match review panel but was thrown out. Fisher again to Goddard. So some Kilda working around patiently. Hodgson once more. Now Gilbert gave away an early free and bother here, but did just well enough. Jones storming past. Raph Clark miscued the kick. Milne brought down. It's a trip. Had to be.
Good touches there by Raph Clark. Raph Clark played the game of his career last week, and coming off half back just shows plenty of dash, and you can see there Hodge grabbing the leg of Milne.
Wolsey, St Kilda are making all the plays so far. We see Robert Harvey come on. Kazitsky starting in the ruck, pushing forward. Just Ross Lyon making the running so far in the coach's box.
Stephen Milne, 59 goals for the year and still hasn't kicked 60. That was a big hook. So some nervous set shooting in the early part. Mark Williams at one end, Stephen Milne at the other.
And the umpire's whistle also been crucial, setting up some shots for goal at both ends, as Tim said. Haven't been able to capitalise completely. Crowd on the way out so far. Guerra and Lewis both being involved quite a few times already. Over the top, Rioli had a sniff. High tackle on Harvey, so lots of free kicks. Well, there really has to be a question about what advantage there was there for the Saints as Mitchell draws the high tackle. Bateman takes the advantage. Crawford's away, back to Bateman. This will test out his injury. And so will that.
Great tackle. Great pressure. Great tackling by Harvey. And the follow-up tackle, I think, by Armitage. Rob Harvey, I hope he hasn't pinged a hammy with that chase on Bateman.
He's going to get it here.
He just pulled up a little bit short. It was a super effort to get the hands onto Bateman.
Game done at 383. Barring a draw in a grand final. There's another 50.
No. That surely was initiated by Sam Fisher.
But he grabbed the jumper. He just can't do it. The rule's clear. Take the mark.
If he initiates contact into it, what are you meant to do?
But he grabbed the jumper, and the rule states, and maybe that's why we're upset about it, but the rule states you grab the jumper. If you're not involved in the marking contest, it's a free kick. Now, we can argue the legitimacy of it, But the fact is, that's the rule.
Fisher from on the paint of 50 looks pretty fair and holds its line, and the Saints have their second. Two goals from 50-metre penalties to St Kilda. Both minor infractions. That one very minor.
It's a harsh penalty. Obviously, it's a harsh penalty.
That's just
Too
rubbish,
harsh for
Vossi.
that.
That's just rubbish.
It might be. It might be. But the players clearly know the rule.
It's interesting, 2 50-metre penalties for, and we've got argument up here in the box. And Vossi says the players know the rule, but
Clearly
they've
they don't.
obviously shown they don't know the rule when they've just put a touch on an opponent in such an important game.
Well, the umpires, as we said, are having an influence so far. This is Eddie out of the middle. He's been in and around the ball a bit so far. His third disposal heads for Revolt. Haven't seen an enormous amount of nick just yet. He gets 2 tackling in there, arguably without the ball.
Tackle Sam
But
Mitchell.
the one's played on Mitchell.
It's over his shoulder. The tackle is over his shoulder. That's a free kick.
What it does say, though, is that St Kilda are definitely on the front foot. They're on the front foot in the coach's box, and they're on the front foot making the play first just at the minute.
Mitchell, Lewis, and now Young. Williams darts into the pocket, and that's where the ball heads.
Come through. Here, Gilly. Yep.
Already 7 free kicks to Hawthorn and 6 to St Kilda. 8-6 now after that one. And Mark Williams, who was known for his deadly accuracy when he was the sharpshooter and the main man a few years ago, now at times has struggled to come to terms with being the third man, but he's got his radar on now, and the Hawks are back in front. Good answer. One goal, 2, and 39 goals for the year for Mark Williams.
And no argument under the modern interpretation about that. The arm coming down hard, taking a bit of shoulder and some arms. Free kick and goal.
At this centre bounce, you can see the Hawthorn forward line. Buddy's got the entire 50. The other 5 Hawthorn forwards are up on the centre square, ready to run in when the ball is bounced.
Campbell against Kajitsky in ruck, and Campbell won it. Mitchell, just with a twist of the shoulders, was able to break. Cleverly done, Osborne, who was then thrown out. Must have been a free there, but it wasn't paid. Now Bateman almost caught again and turned it over. Gilbert to Jones to Harvey. And the Hemis stretching out, looking all right. The bounce of the ball not so hot. Montagna. Disciplined kick after Revolt.
Yeah.
It was going to be tough.
Good body work by Crode to protect there.
Sewell, Birchall, Crawford, 34-year-old through the middle, forced wide. Osborne will be corralled by Gilbert. Franklin, I don't think was anticipating it there. The Hawks will have to work from the throw-in.
I reckon Max will be saying, I don't care if I don't get a kick. As long as the ball goes out of bounds and I get a fist on it and Buddy doesn't get his hands on it. He is under real pressure there because they make so much space for the star.
Another whistle and another free kick in the forward line. This time to Jared Ruffhead. This time it's the Saints fans' turn to exclaim.
Well, the hand was over the shoulder.
Yeah, just for a millisecond, but it was there. So Jared Ruffhead, 69 goals, 51 for the season. Not the greatest of set shot record, 58%. But they like that, the Hawks fans.
.15 free kicks in 17 minutes. Just about a modern day record.
And 4 inside 50 for Hawthorn.
So Hawthorn are 3 goals won as a result of free kicks, which is almost their whole score, and St Kilda are 2 goals won from either free kicks or penalties, 50-metre penalties, which is their whole score.
Roughhead's first kick of the match produces Hawthorn's 3rd goal. A win to Campbell, but Harvey on the backside for the Saints. Straight through Armitage's fingers. And Fiora was dispensed with. Ellis, Sewell. Wilt came at him hard. Sewell's a strong man, though. Gillam to Ellis. Pressure from Hayes. Good kick, but a steal by Montagna. It might be 15, but Milne should finish. He usually does. He doesn't here. He's had 2 misses.
Good pressure. St Kilda pressure in their forward 50 was just super there. They just forced the Hawks back. It was a rush kick that came out. Good effort by Montagna to intercept.
Ladson brings it back in, but only just. Guerra still deep in defence, looking up. He's got some run from Birchall here, and that's a well-placed ball. What's the next step? Osborne leads in tight, but that's eventually where he settles on. And so it's a gradual process. Stewie Jew, instant handball. Shane Crawford, he's the other veteran out there tonight. Who knows, maybe it'll be his last season of footy. Very wide kick from Gillam, not so great. And it gives the chance for the Saints defence to sort things out, which they inevitably do. Snyder and then Gwilt. Kicked a couple of goals last week. Showed that he has got something to contribute to St Kilda. He's seen a great deal of Nick Del Santo so far.
He got tagged early by Bateman Del Santo, so Rossline took him off.
The fist from Crawford. That was just Del Santo's 3rd disposal of the night. And the ball is over and out.
And immediately Bateman goes towards Del Santo, left of picture.
King back. Campbell got the better of it, though. Helped Mitchell. High tackle on Ellis. Another Hawthorn free kick.
On there. Him up. Behind
So
him
it's
up.
the Hawks by a goal as the game settles into some sort of a rhythm. Hodge to Young. And on the march here is Williams, and almost held it at the second bite. Roughhead moving for him. He goes, though, towards the unguarded goal. Ref Clark gets back to guard it.
Mark Williams very dangerous. Sam Gilbert's playing on him. I reckon if he gets another couple of touches, the move might have to be made. Maybe Clark goes across.
Harvey around the corner for Hayes. No marks inside 50 yet in this entire 20-minute period of the opening term. There's been a few free kicks inside 50, but no marks. I think we mentioned that. Here's Goddard. And the Saints have shown they have a complete willingness to do this, Rob, and they're happy to
control the tempo, keep the ball in their hands. They did this last week against Collingwood. They had 160 marks to Collingwood's 80. Now the Hawthorn fans won't like it. All it means is that the Hawks haven't got their hands on the footy.
Sam Fisher gives everyone a chance to get their hands on the footy, but Reebok was always the best placed. He doesn't end up with it, at least not yet.
21 minutes into this first quarter, Rewalt's had 2 touches, Buddy's had 1.
Yeah.
Well, Ross Lyon said it was about who wins the midfield. That's where the game will be won and lost. Early indications are that he might be right. Here's Harvey extracting it with a bit of sleight of hand to Fiora, kicking into space, and the bounce was kind for Raf Clark. The tackle from Crawford less so. Hawthorn holding possession. Hodge couldn't barge through. And umpire Rosebery will ball it up. Hawthorn by 7 points. There's the veteran.
Gee, it was a slick, quick handball from Rob Harvey. Swooped on it and in the one motion got the handball out.
Ellis to Young's bootlaces. Now he's got to get it out, having fallen over it. Here's Sewell. Ellis again. He just needed a bit more punch on that ball to Ladson, who's tied up by King. Another ball.
Gee, that was great tackling by the ruckman, King.
There's been some fantastic 50-50 contests in the last minute and a half where both teams have been extremely committed.
Rioli, but no real effect. He's still around, though, circling. Ellis out for Young. We know he can go the journey from there. So it's a question of if it's online, and it most definitely is.
Well, they handball backwards, and they've got those thumping left foot kicks, and there's one in Young. And just very smart play by the Hawks. Buy a bit of time and space by going backwards with the footy.
So Hawthorn releasing one of its long kicking players near goal for the first time of the night. And stretching the lead to 13 points. St Kilda have won 6 of the last 7 against Hawthorn. It's a curious stat. And last time they came from behind to do it in round 16. Is Clark, Rioli coming at him. Graham there. Hodge attacking this ball though. Left in his weight.
There's a fight in the centre circle, and it's a frustrated Del Santo on his tag Bateman.
Del Santo just 3 possessions so far. Now Renoff has run into some space and is able to mark on the wing for the Hawks. As
certainly a tight tag Bateman's put on.
Crawford threading it to Sewell, who's been good. It's great physical presence. A lion heart for Hawthorn. And has a bit of daring about him too. Birchall, another one of these left footers, launches it in the Franklin direction. Well played, Hudson. Fiora all ridden from behind. Clear free kick.
Every marking contest that Buddy's in with Max, the Saints have got numbers running to the drop in anticipation of the spoil.
Having been out there, Walsey, it's not a great night, is it, for the big, tall marking players? Let's just go down to Howie as Buddy comes off.
Yeah, in that marking contest, guys, he looked like he snagged his wrist, came off holding the wrist, so a bit of worried times in the Hawks bench at the moment.
Interesting handball out of defence, a bounce handball up to Fisher, but they get it through to Armitage. Proactive player, delivers for Kaczynski. Oh, that was strong stuff. Crow, no pushover.
Well, they took it down the central corridor, and there's the Buddy injury. I think it might be a wrist problem.
Looked innocuous enough, didn't it? It's already strapped there, you can see. But our attention turns to the other end, and Justin Kaczynski. Only 5 goals in his 6 games previously against the Hawks. And that is a fine line between pleasure and pain right there. The Saints desperately needed that one.
Well, Milne's missed 2, Kaczynski's missed 1. There's 3 very gettable goals gone begging, and it can hurt. We saw the Doggies do it last night.
Where he gives to Birchall. Mark Howard, any news?
Bit of drama down on the bench, guys. Buddy Frankner just said he had that left wrist already strapped. He had a quick chat with the doctor, and they said straight down to the room. So Buddy is now in the rooms, and a bit of a concern for the Hawks.
Campbell Brown unsighted so far, but you can't keep a good man down. Bounce cruel for Goddard. Osborne running it almost all the way. Yes, Franklin heading off to the rooms a moment ago. Not a good sight for Hawthorn. Still in the first quarter.
Del Santo for Goddard, and then Hayes.
On the 15, Campbell.
13 points the margin.
5 metres, no closer than that.
Last couple of minutes of the opening term.
Play on.
The Hawks up by a couple of goals. How are you reading the general thrust of play, Vossi?
I think general thrust of the play, it's an arm wrestle. I don't think that there's any team that's on top of the other at the moment. They're both committed in their general play. There's been a lot of physical contests. So while the scoreboard might say Hawthorn in front, St Kilda have had their chances and should be up there with them.
Well, they get another opportunity now, and again it's Armitage involved, and again Kaczynski is the intended target, which he marked, but unfortunately he was over the line, and both of them come a cropper.
Hodge's kick. Hold it there.
Hodge brings it across to Guerra, and both players are still feeling the pain of that last marking contest.
Here's a steal, Goddard. Didn't quite hang on to the mark and then turned it over. Renoff well tackled. And the Saints' numbers prevail. Del Santo. Eddie, Roughhead with him. Big, strong tackle. Much bigger man, of course, Roughhead. Saints fight on. Roughhead back for another dip. Ridden by Armitage and ridden illegally. Thought it was there, Vossi. Judged by your grunts and groans, you don't?
No, not my original look at it.
Roughhead going deep into defence to Gillen and Hodge. Hawks with trainers everywhere.
All going to Hodge.
Gives to Osborne. So in the last minute, and Franklin already in the rooms, and Hodge.
Yeah, he's hurting.
He clutched his ribs, Wallsy. That'd be something to keep an eye on. He is sucking in the big ones.
Due the big long ball as the Hawks go deep into attack, but St Kilda hold up. Andy Marr, what can you tell us?
Hodge a minute ago, the doctor said, he's gone, he's got to come off, but Hodge has waved him away and he's going to stay out there.
He's as tough as they come, Luke Hodge.
Well, there's only 15 seconds to get through.
Thank you.
Revolt.
Just his second mark.
Yeah, won't know. There's only, well, it's all over now as far as the quarter is concerned. So even though the Hawks are ahead on the scoreboard, it's some concerns with Luke Hodge in pain on the field, and Buddy Franklin, of course, in the rooms already. Lots of drama in September, as there will be on Monday night. Some of those stars will feature in the votes for the Brownlow Medal of 2008.
Not much between the two teams, even though the scoreboard indicates that they're a couple of goals up the Hawks, because you've got to look at the misses that St Kilda had in that first quarter by Milne and Kazitsky. Nailed them, and it's even Steven. So line ball at this stage.
So the Hawks take a 13-point lead into the second quarter. King wins clearly. Takes a while to come out, and when it does, it's carried by Brown and Gold. Osborne to Mitchell. Bateman. Franklin hasn't had a kick yet, just one hand pass. He might be in play in a moment. Here's Sewell losing his footing, and Franklin not taking the ball with him. Montagna does. Bad bounce for Schneider, but he has time and sees off Michael Osborne. Goes for Revolt. Well covered by Gillen. Plenty of fence there too.
This is one big test for Nick Del Santo, playing in a final and being tagged by a player of the talents and tenacity of Chance Bateman.
Yeah, there's some real danger that could go the other way. Wallsy, isn't there? Bateman can come off him.
At the moment, Bateman is just hell-bent on making life hard for Del Santo. Del Santo's got to run and run like he's never run before.
Young across to Hodge, who takes the mark as we check in again with Andrew Marr.
Yeah, Kazitsky's just come out of the dugout. Hutto, he's done some lateral run-throughs. He does appear to be okay.
Okay, Hodge to Lewis. Down to Campbell Brown. Blake just a fraction over Egan.
Just gone at him. Wait for it, Jason.
And so Campbell Brown.
Looks like Blake's been moved out of the half-forward area where he was trying to contain Hodge. Has been moved into defence where he's played most of the second half of the year.
They've got some tough nuts, the Hawks. Brown and Lewis both included. Some more illegal contact, and the free kick count grows. 13-9 now, Hawthorn's favour. Young, roughhead, some movement, but decides to go via Lewis. Back even further for Guerra.
Well, the Saints have got all of their players in their back half. So Hawthorn just chipping it around. They need to get a mark inside the forward 50. This is the one that counts.
Step by step, the handball to Guerra on his wrong side. And that's, well, I was going to say an aimless kick, but he was in the area, so not so aimless. Williams just couldn't have great effect with the handball.
Gilbert down in big trouble for St Kilda.
Goddard and Fisher and Raf Clark are involved. Raf took them on to some extent and could have been penalised. Wasn't. Brown, Del Santo couldn't contain the both. And the extra bodies prevailing. Schneider caught a handball. Just. It's out of bounds.
He seems to have recovered. He punched the ground as he lay on the turf as though in frustration at what might not lie ahead. Hawthorn's ball again. Hawks looking to turn the screw here. Guerra, lovely kick. And Williams, who really has been the focal point, can have another shot.
Sam Mitchell's roving at that boundary throw-in was so quick the naked eye could hardly pick it up. He was super quick and slick. Took the tap down, fired off a handball. Have a look at it. And that's what set up this shot at goal for Hawthorn. They go backwards to set up a little bit of time and space before a left footer pounds it into the 50.
The third man has 1-2 from the 50. He has 1-3. Hawks margin 14 points.
3 clearances already for Alistair Clarkson's main man in the middle, Sam Mitchell, more than anyone else on the ground. Del Santo with the re-entry.
No, Cyril there.
To Lenny Hayes, who was quite early in the first quarter, but now up to 7 disposals.
Thank you there, Mark. No closer.
Raf Clark, this is real finals intensity at the MCG tonight.
Hutto, this is a brutal game. Simple as that. You've got players with eyes only for the footy, and they'll take whatever comes in their path. We've seen some of the heaviest knocks you'll see this year.
Montagna to the wing, hoping Revolt can get involved. Only big bodies lumbering after it, really, from both sides, till the more nimble Mitchell and Guerra got involved. And then Campbell feeding Ladson. They're going completely laterally across the ground. Here's why. Birchall on the move. Storming forward for the Hawks, kicking very wide though. Tough one for Williams, who's been the focus of a lot of the forward movements for the Hawks. It's out of bounds.
Oh, Tim, it's willing out on the outer centre wing. It's been going for about a minute out there at the moment, and it's very, very willing out there.
Hey, this is one rock-solid game. Raf Clark's been moved on to the dangerous Williams.
This is in the great traditions of the 71 grand final. Here's Buddy within range. Couldn't conjure it.
Wazzy, you summed it up beautifully this game. This is a war of attrition between these two sides. They have both been so committed at the football. It's an absolute pleasure to watch.
Oh, the ball fell for Franklin, but it didn't bounce for him. And Sam Fisher clears. Milne come up from the forward line. And he gives to Hayes. Schneider. Hodge closes on him. No breakaway for the Saints. 14 points down, no goal kicked in almost 5 minutes of actual time in this quarter. Revolt shunted under it by Gillam.
Yeah, and I reckon they're going for Nick Revolt. Every chance they can get to bury him, they bury him. There's an injured Nick Revolt a minute ago, and Robert Campbell thumps him.
You don't want to do that, Hutto. You're in a bit of trouble if you do that.
I remember a team up north did that to him a few years ago. Those big, bad Brisbane Lions.
Yeah, they are big and bad.
Sewell and Hodge and Guerra.
Take no prisoners in this game, boys.
Crode was involved on the way out, and so too Young, and now Birchall. Hawks lead by 14. We've gone just 6 minutes in this second quarter. It's going to be a long, tough night, and the players know that, and both sides prepared to just take the pace off it a little.
McQualter started on Mitchell, who's now with 11 disposals, and now Jones has got the job. So Ross Lyons made heaps of changes in the first 30 minutes of this game.
And now it's step by step for the Hawks.
And that's why he's getting the booze, this man, because he knocked over Nick Revolt.
Off to Guerra, we know he can cover the distance. Just adjusted the kick because Bateman gave him a little wink of the eye. There's a free kick, and it is going to Mark Williams.
That's a worry, that matchup. It is a worry.
Well, they did change Gilbert from Williams. Raf Clark went onto it. There's the Geelong Brains Trust. Bonner Thompson there with his assistant coaches.
It says a lot about this team also that Williams is now the focal point, and Franklin can move out of that space and he becomes the focal point straight away.
Straight through it goes. The Hawks out to a Talon lead. So it's 20 points, and we should talk about that a bit more in a moment, that point, Vossi, about how the Hawks can adapt their forward line. We're going to have a look at this free kick. It did appear to be there. I'm sure Williams
was he held?
Sure of it.
Was Williams held? Was Mark Williams held? Was he held? Jumper pull? Jumper pull? No jumper pull.
It's arms around though, Wolsey. They don't like that.
Well, you might as well say to a defender, you can't touch a forward.
I would have played that one, I have to say. The Hawks are away. Lewis, rough head. Now Campbell Brown had the right idea, it just didn't come off for him. Blake, once, twice, Brown. But Hudson has it covered, has to be clean here, has the line there as sanctuary if he needs it, he doesn't. Del Santo kicks to Montagna. Saints 20 points down. And they can't afford to let Hawthorn stretch that by too much more. Goddard, Montagna. Crawford coming at him and then pestering Goddard. Goes to Graham. Hasn't had a big influence thus far. Fisher backpedaling and then was a little nervous. I think that there might have been somebody coming in the rear vision mirror. Blake.
Inside 50's a double to Hawthorn. 18 to 9.
Awful ball for Robert Eddy to stand under it. Was swept to one side. Gillum, Ellis.
Luke Hodge is in trouble. Luke Hodge is in real trouble. He's got cracked ribs, I would suggest. They've got to get him off.
He's coming off, and I reckon that might be it for the night. Crowd a long ball in the Lewis direction. One out with Koschitzki. Now a ground level contest. Lewis prevailing and swinging the Hawks forward for the dangerous Rioli. Just a little peep over the shoulder. And then the long direct ball to Campbell Brown. Hodges' night might be done. He is in pain.
Well, he's done an aggressive spoil there and he's hurt himself, and he's as tough as they come, we know that, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's got cracked ribs.
Well, win or lose, this is an awful thing for Hawthorn. Can he play next week? Campbell Brown, meanwhile, to stretch the lead, and he puts Hawthorn 26 points up. Well, what does it mean, I wonder, for Luke Hodge in a grand final if the Hawks win this?
He'll play.
Big call.
Luke Hodge sitting on the boundary there, and all sorts of trouble after that second contest. You've never seen anything like it, guys. He had 3 doctors surrounding him, pleading to come off. At first he said no, but I think eventually he had to give in.
Not sure if Hodges' injury related to the smile we saw there in the Geelong officials watching on as far as next week could be concerned, but there's a long way to go in this game. We know the Saints are resilient and they're good finishers, so they will box on. Hayes, instant play on again. Koschitzki, maybe it wasn't such a great decision, but they've kept it alive, and Jones has got them rolling from half-back.
Critical stage for the Saints. Now they have to be able to capitalise this pressure on the scoreboard. The best form of pressure is on the scoreboard. They have to score. I don't think they've kicked a goal for about 28 minutes.
Just off the top of your head, Bossy.
Yeah, just pull that out.
Montagna to Harvey.
They haven't got a forward 50 entry, the Saints, in this quarter. This might be the first one with 12 minutes in. 6-0 the forward 50s.
Who's going to take the grab for them? Maybe Eddie. Oh, Koschitzki may have actually got in the road. And the ball is over and out. And a bit of more synchronisation wouldn't have gone astray here. From the Saints, Koschitzki doing the ruck work, but it's all Hawthorn underneath him. Not great hands from Osborne, but no real damage done. The ball stays inside the forward 50. The margin is 26. Milne being watched by Guerra. There he is. Can he escape? Harvey. Crawford. Renoff. Young and Guerra. They had to back up all the way through. And the sanctity of the sanctuary.
There's
of the
Buddy.
behinds.
Buddy comes down to the wing. When he does that, Fisher takes him. Hudson stays back on the last line of defence.
Hawthorn calling the tune at the moment. The veterans, Crawford and Harvey, beneath the outer stand. Played beneath it for decades. Chance Bateman against Montagna this time, and he goes to Osborne. Oh, what a good mark.
The mark of Chance Bateman's, Tim, just shows the desperation of this outfit. He is super fit, super determined, and just sets the standard. He's the benchmark player. Have a look at, gets past his opponent. He wants it more than his opponent and takes the mark on the boundary line. Then follows up with a spot-on kick.
Graham coming hard, no body contact, and Osborne was able to take the mark without physical contest. Testing shot, but kickable. And kick it he does. And the Hawks are out to a 31-point lead.
A mighty roar around the MCG for the re-entry of Luke Hodge. The Hawks fans are singing. There's one man, your mate Nigel Lappin, who you're trying to resurrect again, Vossi. Who knows what it's like to play with broken ribs in a big final.
Yeah, and that is a fantastic story, that, with Nigel Lappin playing with broken ribs. But Hodge, well, you don't want to underestimate it, but that is gladiator stuff.
There's Hodge.
Kazitsky, and as you said, Hodge straight into the thick of it. Now Milne. They need to generate something. Eddie, crafty kick. Oh, Fiora just didn't quite get there. And Hodge is going to get a possession, and the Saints will no doubt make him feel it. Lewis involved. Opportunity for Fiora. It was just got the angles right, didn't it? It just fell beautifully for that left foot and through it sails.
Crawford went the look-away handball and mucked it up.
31 minutes, Wolsey, since their last goal. So it's been a long time, and boy, did they need that. Great finish.
And there's Luke Hodge. We think he may well have cracked ribs. Okay, Vossi, you're playing against him. What do you do?
I would hit him as much as I could.
I thought you'd say that.
We're all shocked by your response.
Well, I had him out of the grand final. He's not even out of this corner. Here go the Hawks. Bateman from a long way. The goal unguarded. Thumping kick. Great response. The Hawks replied to St Kilda's goal in no more than 10 seconds. That's a loud statement. It's a loud roar too. And again, the lead is 31 points, and this fellow has just about been the most influential out there.
Yeah, been super. Look at his hard running. He just takes off. What a fantastic finish. Chance Bateman has elevated this team this year. Just a superb finish. They are a mature team, Hawthorn. They are ready for the challenge. Of course, there's a long way to go in this game, but they've elevated themselves and this group over the last 12 months.
It's a big stat, Rob, isn't it, that one?
Yeah, time in possession, just dominating the Hawks.
The Saints will be probably trying to take the sting out of it. They can just get their hands on the footy.
At this centre bounce, it's Roughead down in the goal square. And
Too early, Justin, you're free. Justin. Sorry, Justin's free. Too early. Give it to him.
Bit of confusion in the middle as to who's free.
He waved the wrong way initially.
And the players all went that way. Now this is Quilt, who can kick the ball a long way. He's got Revolt in the goal square.
Buddy Franklin 3 disposals, Franklin 2 disposals. That's good news for Hawthorn because their stars haven't fired.
Well, as Vossi mentioned before, they've used Williams a lot of the time, haven't they, as the focal point?
Well, they're well in front without the big guns doing the damage. You'd be happy with that, Alistair Clarkson.
I think it just says a lot of maturity about their group. Wolsey, they don't rely on. Buddy Franklin gets all the accolades as you'd expect from someone who's kicked 100 goals, but he's prepared to go up the ground, let somebody else be the focal point. That says a lot about their team football at the moment.
Lenny Hayes getting the boos from the crowd.
Why?
Oh, there, Grant.
Goddard goes short to Milne. He's getting booed too. Maybe they're just all getting booed. This high ball from Milne. Revolt underneath it. One, but not the second for Kazitsky, and the Hawks concede the behind. We've seen a lot of rushed behinds late in the season in AFL footy. The margin is 30.
Roughhead stepped over the mark, and the umpire calls play on. There's no pressure, and he coolly slots it to Sewell.
Gee, Buddy's on a long run through the centre square to half forward.
And he'll be in Bateman's eye line, but he's well covered by Raph Clark. So Bateman quite wisely isn't carried away with the possibilities. Goes to Lewis.
Good composure here by the Hawks.
Ellis. Gillum. Gillum missing Hawthorn's first final. First game he's missed in 2 seasons. That was a late inclusion here, if ever he was out. Crowd for Crawford, who made the mistake that let St Kilda in for their 1 goal of the quarter a little while ago. No mistake here. Sewell from a long way, searching left foot. Franklin up. Oh, got the hands around it, couldn't hang on. Blake under the pump. So's Kazitsky. Williams too. And St Kilda hold up. Jones to Fisher. And the All-Australian just blazes with a 1971 style kick. And it's straight to Crawford, who quickly sums it all up and delivers to Rick Gladson, who is a left footer, out in a tight spot. Puts it into a just kick to space for someone to run onto it. But Blake's got it and gives to Milne. The St Kilda are all back plugging holes.
It's a stress St Kilda defence at the moment. Gwilt over the top to Revolt, all hands on deck at half back. The margin stands at 30, and the Saints just trying to hold on, you'd think, to the main break. If they could snatch 1 or even 2, that would be a bonus. Clark to Graham, and a bit of flow about them, and he just kicks as long as he can too.
Yeah, and that is not smart football. That is not smart football by Graham. You can see the coach is just disgusted by that lack of thought.
Sign's not good for the Saints.
This is Gillum, as the Hawks defence have a bit of kicking practice. Crowd along to Young.
Thank you, Gately.
He's got Rioli over the top if he wants him, which he does eventually. Now, are the Hawks happy to just move at a snail's pace? They want to just crank it up a gear. Although Young doesn't have any immediate long targets, so he too gets in on the handball act. This is Xavier Ellis. And now Birchall. The transition is complete from one side to the other. And Guerra's come on to give them another option as they surge forward. Franklin waits to make his move. Delay, delay, delay. And so far that he delayed, that he went longer and over his head. And to Mark Williams. Who has already been able to put through 2 goals, 3. And would really be thriving on getting the chance to have a bit of spotlight. Already there's 5 goals, the difference between these 2 sides. And Mark Williams is in the mood tonight. He's just getting started with 3.
I don't think we should undersell this point of Williams being able to get opportunities. Franklin, normally the target, so too Roughhead. They're taking a secondary role to somebody else. I just think that says some terrific things about their team.
Chorus of hoots for Lenny Hayes a little while ago, and that perhaps is why Hodge had been injured. It wasn't particularly vicious, but maybe Hawthorn fans didn't appreciate it.
It might have squashed a fly, Tim.
Just might have twisted the dagger a little bit. It might have felt like a dagger in there. Look at Sewell, a raging bull for Hawthorn. The margin 36 points. Mark Williams has had 9 disposals inside 50. No one else on the ground has had more than 3 in their front zone. Jones just hacking it forward for the Saints, but they haven't been able to control possession of the footy. Harvey will try. Gives to Gwilt. Forced backwards. He's a left footer and he couldn't get onto his left side. Gilbert goes for Revolt. 2 against him. Great mark. Strong, totally focused on the ball as ever. Harvey.
Gee, they've got no height in their forward line, the Saints.
Fiora, who's kicked their only goal in a long, long time, but that doesn't get close. Roughhead, Mitchell, Renoff, Hodge. Quick movement by the Hawks, and they have the line there if they want it, and they do.
Revolt feeling the heat. He's going to continue to do that all night. The Hawks wasting no time. And it's Rioli who just brushes off Revolt, more nimble. Heading forward again with danger. Franklin is coming. And the only man left standing was Buddy, but he left it behind. Can you believe that? It's just not his night.
That's not Buddy Franklin. Go buy a lotto ticket. This never happens.
Get nervous, Geelong, about next week, perhaps.
Maybe.
King, Roughhead was there. Clark, Graham, who's just started to come into the picture in the last 10 minutes or so, needs to. Blake and Jones. And Hayes it was meant for, but Birchall is the roadblock. Happy to cause a 50-50 on the point of the 50.
Nick Del Santo's on the bench, had 6 disposals. If St Kilda's to get back into this game, he has to come on and really produce.
Sam Mitchell and Bateman, Milne try to latch on, but they're not making them stick at the moment. Campbell Brown, known to take marks like this. Buddy Franklin. He really isn't having an influence at all. It's a good point about Del Santo, Wolsey. He's averaged something, he's had 63 disposals in his last 2 games against the Hawks.
Hawthorn by 35, and they might stretch it here. Roughhead likes it. He likes it a lot, and that's why it's out beyond 40 points for Hawthorn with Jared Roughhead's second goal. He hasn't had it a lot, but when he has, he's made them count.
2 St Kilda ruckmen up there.
Oh, he's tapped it down to the ruckman.
And I think it was Joe Blake who comes over the top, and it always worries you, Vossi, when you've got blokes who come over the top of your established ruckman and do that sort of thing.
Well, doesn't it say a lot for decision making in our game? He read that better than the other 2 players. He saw the ball was floating over his head, so he sat off, waited for the tap down, and read it beautifully.
Del Santo back on, and immediately Bateman goes to his side. His nemesis, his tormentor, his shadow.
Sam Mitchell, another clean pair of heels, and the 50 is clear indeed for Osborne. And Gilbert, what a handy acquisition Osborne's been. He's been there about 9 years, but here's Crawford enjoying a bit more September glory. Will his ultimate dream come true? Astounding goal from Shane Crawford. And surely now the Hawks have got 1 foot into the grand final. Still a long way to go in this game time-wise, but they lead by 47 points. And Shane Crawford must be licking his lips.
Great goal by Crawford, but the Osborne release of the ball after he was tackled was just as good. Show the strength and nous of Osborne to keep the ball alive.
Hawthorn dominating the quarter, tearing St Kilda apart. 7 goals to 1 for the term. Just Shane Crawford's 5th goal of the year. He kicked one in his 300th game. Another one in the preliminary final. Likes the big occasion. Lewis has been good. So's Mitchell. So's Gillam. So's Birchall. And Mitchell again. The Hawks in total control. St Kilda in disarray. Lewis has Young running. Too far out, but he has a look and he delivers. Osborne couldn't hang on. Clark the crumb. Montagna. Jones as they try and get some rapid movement happening. Milne. Revolt.
Nick Revolt going for the chest mark. It's a flaw in his technique. Nick Revolt has to go for marks with his arms outstretched.
Former teammates. Guerra, of course, played for St Kilda in 2 preliminary finals in 04-05.
Gee, we need to have a look at that Trent Crode contact too on Nick Riewoldt if we can. Gee, there's still a lot of intensity out there. The Hawks are just being absolutely ruthless at the moment.
Here's Riewoldt. He's letting the ball come onto his chest, and a good defender will always spoil it.
So a minute to go, the margin 47. Can the Saints snag one here before the break? Sam Fisher right up in the thick of it. Most players on the ground are inside the 50. The Hawks taking no chances. Ross Lyon will be desperate for the break to come. Hodge over the top of it.
The efforts of Hodge are just inspirational. He will be hurting like hell.
You wouldn't know it for looking at him, would you? Goddard, Schneider, can he find a path through? No. Look at the glee on the faces of the Hawthorn fans as the Saints try and organise themselves, and Hodge it was who applied the tackle most meaningfully, and now it's Crawford on the way out.
It'll be interesting to see if Hodge has an early night, if Hawthorn maintain control of the match. Remembering that St Kilda did come from behind to beat them in round 16, but they've got to come from a long way behind here. Ellis, Franklin's up on the wing, crumbing and breaking in typically flamboyant manner. Just nowhere to go up front. Puts it in the Young direction. It's half-time in the second preliminary final, and the inspiration of Luke Hodge has seen Hawthorn kick 7 goals to 1 in the second term for a 47-point lead.
The big fella's there, the anchor in the goal square. Nick Riewoldt needs to lift his game. So too Del Santo, who's in at this centre bounce with Goddard, who's been moved from backline into midfield.
They're going to have to leave nothing in the tank, but Mitchell starts allow his handball run down, and a good start for Jason Blake, and his move into attack, or into the attacking position in the ruck at least. This is Young, and here is Hodge. As the Hawks again getting their hands all over the footy on the way out. Not such a good kick. Campbell Brown competitive and didn't give away the free. It was jarred loose, and Lewis was there. And now Campbell Brown can have a good look and see that Franklin is getting in the top position. That's the bad news for St Kilda fans. He didn't see it in the first half.
And bad news is that Raph Clark in that marking contest with Campbell Brown landed on his back and has knocked the stuffing out of himself.
And it's beyond 50 now as Buddy gets his first.
See Wacky's head, I think here, was he? Oh, no, just landed flat on his back. Beautiful setup. The important thing about that kick was it was low and hard.
And Raph Clark really knocks the wind out of his sails there. And I think his opponent, Campbell Brown, wouldn't give him one bit of sympathy at all. In fact, he's got a few choice words to say to him as they line up for this ruck contest.
And the only fate worse than having Campbell Brown at you, being 47 points down at half-time, and then Buddy strikes for him. 53 points is the margin. No team's ever come from that far down to win a preliminary final. Essendon, of course, famously back from 42 against Adelaide in 93. Here's Williams, mayhem in the first half, and a bit more here. Roughhead will line them up.
But again, Sam Mitchell, the handball is quick, slick, only goes a metre, but just sets his team up again and again. Have a look at this. Half a metre at most, but just sets Jordan Lewis up.
Roughhead has two. This is a straightforward shot from 25 metres. And it just squeezes home. It's getting horribly ugly for the Saints. 59 points, and Hawthorn looking as though they're getting better with every minute of this game.
Scores from clearances, absolute domination there by the Hawks.
And Wolsey, have a look at that. You see Williams, Franklin and Roughhead, they're up the ground. Williams has been on fire for most of this game. That's the flexibility that they have, and also that their teammates are prepared to get out of his way.
Smart coaching, isn't it? The man who's hot, give him the space.
And the Saints obviously at the moment going one-on-one back there, so there's no extra man to help out. Sewell this time orchestrating the move forward. Bateman, we've loved his work tonight. Roughhead the target again. Good wrestle, good strong staff. Harvey, the dream might well and truly be over. Goddard for Jones. Nothing easy for the Saints at the moment, and the pressure shows. Everything running the Hawks' way, and it's all of their own making. Lewis as robust as ever. Sewell, Young and Mitchell. What a marvel for Ladson. And for Campbell Brown, this versatile forward line. Multiple options on display again.
You always wonder sometimes whether teams generally earn their spot in the grand final and what their realistic chances are of being able to play and win a grand final. The Hawks, I really believe they're ready. They're ready for this chance against a Geelong outfit.
It's making a big statement, isn't it, to the Cats?
Just taken one mark inside their forward 50 for the game, St Kilda.
60 points. Hawthorn beat the Bulldogs by 51 in their opening final of the series. Barring some just unimaginable reversal, they are going to go into the grand final with tremendous confidence, playing their best footy of the year. Goddard's kick hung in the air too long, and guess who arrived? They love him, as well they might. Revolt doing some ruck work for St Kilda. Lewis has been tremendous. So is Bateman. And Rioli, who kicked the first of the night, now kicks the second. It's a massacre. I think that's official. 66 points.
Well, and inside 50s, that's an unbelievably low number by St Kilda. Just 15 inside 50s. Desperation stakes for the Saints. They now have Nick Revolt in at the centre bounce.
It is a whitewash now. This third quarter, complete domination from the Hawks. They're not finished yet.
That's
Graham and
trying.
Revolt and Goddard all in at the centre square there.
That's called trying everything.
Vera's got away on the wing. He's got Stuart Dew behind him. Haven't seen a lot of him tonight. Franklin, that's all the Hawks fans need to see between now and the end of the game. Just a bit more of Buddy to get ready for next week. Lenny Hayes still for one of the most venomous hacks we've ever seen. Here's Sewell. As Wolsey said, enough to squash a fly perhaps. What Fossey.
And watch this clearance. Watch the speed at which they move. Bateman takes off and then back inside to Rioli. The speed with which they move this ball is quite extraordinary.
Their midfielders are getting so much of the footy. As we saw the scores from clearances, Lewis and Mitchell, Sewell. And they're just controlling the pattern of play.
Those three have had 62 disposals between them already, and the third quarter's not far advanced. Make it 64.
Not finished yet. Campbell Brown, he's enjoyed himself tonight. Snyder getting back to cover the bases for the Saints.
67 points. Robert Harvey is now looking at the final curtain, and it's coming down in a way that he wouldn't have wanted. Going to be a long night for him now. St Kilda being hammered. Game number 383 will be the last. He gives to Fisher. 14 goals to 3.
Yeah, Phil! Secure Brendan Goddard, your free kick against Chance Bateman.
Got the message. Goddard immediately giving to Fiora, to Hayes. Still not popular. Maybe it was worse than it looked.
That is not a smart kick by Del Santo. He's kicked it to 3 Hawks and 1 St Kilda player. The St Kilda player was the midget Milne.
Guerra standing in the way has had a very good night. Sewell receiving from Roughhead and goes for Franklin. Punched him there, but he gave away the free. Franklin can have another shot. Very quiet first half. Gee, there wasn't a lot there.
To be a forward now, Wolsey.
Yeah, I was born 30 years too early.
Big miss. Lucky to score a behind.
Lenny Hayes. Back for Goddard. Again, it's a big strain for the Saints just to get it out cleanly as Fiora finds out. Hayes along the line. And it's gone out.
Time on.
2 goal umpires, they don't miss a trick. 2 boundary umpires. In the finals, they don't miss a trick. They don't give the ruckman any time either to get there.
Why would you bring in 2 boundary umpires for the finals but not have it in the season proper?
I think the idea is okay as long as they don't rush the throw-ins, Wolsey. I mean, it's there to make sure they don't make the mistakes.
I'm not against 2 boundary umpires on either side of the ground, Hutto, but all year we only have 1 on each side, and in the finals they bring in 2. It doesn't make sense.
Certainly when it has an impact on how quick the throw-ins are, it is crazy, isn't it, to introduce something like that when the season is in the middle. There's a hawk down ahead, that's Sam Mitchell, but Hayes is getting plenty of the ball. We're hearing plenty of boos. As the Saints can finally move into attack. Raph Clark, adventurous as the Saints need to be, but once again, they fall well short as Hodge takes the relieving mark.
And every act of play by Hodge is cheered to the rafters by Hawthorn fans. Rioli just fending off Fiora, giving to Brown, who can run in from 45 and give it away. And give it away to a St Kilda player in Gilbert. Fiora to Graham. Finds Schneider. Montagna outside him. Schneider, though, keeps it in the corridor and finds Revolt.
Go back and kick a goal, Captain. This is what happened just seconds ago. And Sam Mitchell cops one from Brendan Goddard. And that didn't look good. We might get another chance to have a look at it, but at first viewing, let's have another look. There's Mitchell. And that didn't look good.
Doesn't look any better from that angle.
No. Frustration.
Revolt gave it off to Montagna. And he kicks a goal that raises barely a ripple. St Kilda's 4th of the night. .28 minutes after their previous one.
Oh.
Well, if his name was Barry Hall, we'd really be talking.
Oh. Yeah, that is a shocker.
Just 4 goals for St Kilda. Sam Mitchell has recovered from the Brendan Goddard contact, and each replay doesn't really help Brendan's cause. He might be having a rest at the start of next season. Renoff with the tap. Hayes, slick stuff again to Harvey. Maybe already the sting just going slightly out of this game. But the Hawks will still be desperate. There's positions in the side up for grabs for a grand final. Harvey and Crawford, the old men of footy, almost 700 games between them.
Brendan Goddard, Sam Mitchell. Mitchell, 18 Goddard. There's Sam Mitchell goes down. And I have a feeling Brendan Goddard will miss quite a bit of the start of next year.
Ellis, and look at the numbers. What a great luxury for the Hawks as they move it forward. And their forward line has functioned largely without a lot from Buddy Franklin tonight. Williams in for Young, and Young could probably kick it from there. So Clinton Young, 11 goals, 6 for the season coming in tonight, has already kicked a goal. And here's a beautiful kick of the footy, and there's some more evidence.
It's a walk in the park for the Hawks now. Tough going early, but they are now in complete control of the game.
Saints have got Stephen King back on the ground. He's gone into the ruck.
Dangerous player, Clinton Young. 2 goals. That left foot of his. A real weapon for Hawthorn. Renouf rucking for the Hawks. Right. Second ball up. Harvey taking a spell. Sam counting down.
Yeah, Sam Mitchell 6 clearances, Tim. Jordan Lewis 5. They're the best out there.
Lewis hard at it again. They're holding the ball.
Dive on it.
And the Saints come away. Montagna, well, aimless. And Hodge is there again. Crode places it for Bateman, just running under it a little. Stewie Dew hasn't had a lot of action. Renouf, Bateman. He's after Roughhead. Just overshot with the hand pass, and Raf Clark is able to relieve for the Saints. Del Santo hasn't had the best of nights, and that doesn't improve. Well, thought it was going out on the full. It was touched before it went out. Not quite as bad a result as it threatened to be as the ball hung in the air. Just some Kilda side of the wing.
Del Santo 9 disposals. Bateman's absolutely flogged him tonight. It's going to be a long, long summer for Nick Del Santo and a few of his mates.
It's just so crucial to them, Rob, isn't it? If you can stop Del Santo, you go a long way to stopping St Kilda.
Well, the best clearance player for the Saints is Robert Harvey, you know, the oldest player in the competition with 3.
Fisher measures it off. Just, well, I was going to say didn't quite get the measurement right, but the umpire thought there was a bit of a chop there, and Luke Hodge can laugh about it. That's a luxury that they can afford at the moment, the Hawks. Talks to Brett Rosebery. Just a little bit of a drag down there.
It was a good pick up by the umpire.
Is that a free, Vossi?
Oh, under the rules.
Rules are rules, Wolsey.
A bit of a skip and a jump, and a goal goes on the board for the skipper. His first of the night.
It's the, as we've mentioned and debated, with even the marking and playing on from a mark, the incidental contact as opposed to what is a free kick, and that's where the grey area always exists in our game.
And there's the Big Dipper. Brownlow medalist, premiership, multi-premiership player, entrepreneur, golfer, you name it.
Entertainer.
Warrior. Warrior of the '89 grand final when Hawthorn played Geelong in that unforgettable game. And it looks as though it's going to be replayed 19 years on with different participants. Here's Raf Clark for St Kilda.
Raf Clark's game last week and this week, Tim, have been a shining light for the Saints.
Eddie just a little overwhelmed, I think, by the occasion, the intensity tonight. Del Santo dumped there. Free kick. It'll come back. No, it'll be relayed about 5 metres. And taken by Sam Gilbert. Goes for Revolt. Hodge at the back. Just almost hypnotised the ball to fall into his arms. Guerra. Gee, he's had a good night. Hawthorn leaving nothing to chance as Crode takes it over for a rush behind.
Ladson, more running from Crawford up ahead. And the next one wasn't so good. You think the Hawks will be unchanged going into next week? Rob, can you see any likely changes ahead for their take on the Cats?
Murphy pulled out of this game for Gillam. I think they need Gillam in the team, Hawthorn, because of the height of Mooney and Lonergan.
Graham finds Revolt, and he'll line up for his second.
And to be honest, Hutto, there's not one Hawthorn player who's struggled in 2.5 quarters.
Franklin's been ordinary. Rob, he's only kicked 1 goal.
Oh, we might drop him, Hutto.
You got to pick them on form, Rob.
Yeah, right there.
He's been dragged.
Yeah, dragged.
Yeah, sit down.
Revolt for his second of the night. Kicks beautifully through the ball. And the Saints a couple of consolation goals. Terrible to say that at the 20-minute mark of the 3rd quarter, isn't it? It's back to 55.
'64th goal for the season to Nick Revolt. Second best ever return. He kicked 67 in 2004. Stars are being rested. There are bigger fish to fry for the Hawks as they have this preliminary final well won. Hodge and Franklin on the bench. Campbell and King contesting in ruck. Big win to King.
Free kick, holding off the ball. Brendan Goddard.
Free kick to Goddard for St Kilda.
Good kick.
Goes for Revolt. Good move. Good attacking play.
Yep. And Revolt's got to take those marks out in his hands. The one that he took before, he took on his chest. OK, no one was near him. Pushed in the back there. Goddard gets the free kick. It's a fantastic kick by Goddard to spot him.
And Nick Revolt just kicked his second goal of the quarter. His 64th of the year. His best ever 67 in 2004. And he closes on that with his third of this 3rd quarter. So a fighting effort. Mark Howard.
Tim, both the Hawthorn injury concerns, Franklin and Hodge, are both on the bench at the moment. Nothing untoward, though. Looks like the boys are both just having a rest.
Alex Eschenko, the Hawthorn ruck coach, on the bench. Veteran of 3 clubs. Robert Walls had him for a while at the Brisbane Bears. Helped advance his career all the way to North Melbourne.
Yes, the big Russian. And this is interesting. Jared Ruffhead, after the 3 goals by Nick Revolt, Jared Ruffhead's decided to plonk himself in the hole in the back line for the Hawks.
Will Alistair Clarkson be accused of being a spoil sport this time?
Yeah.
Oh, he had no play right. He took 2 steps and tackled to the ground.
Killjoy Clarkson did that against Fev, didn't he,
that's
Hunter?
right. You Carlton boys were most upset. So that's back to under 50 points, almost back where we started as far as the second half is concerned. So got to give St Kilda at least some credit for boxing on and making sure it doesn't become a 100-point plus demolition. Fiora, effective tap for Goddard. Revolt's coming again from behind this time. And he's still tracking the ball. Fisher, good aggression. Goddard. And the Saints, some fight.
We know Brendan Goddard's got some trouble in front of him after what we saw earlier in this quarter, but he's had a much improved season, and he is working hard for his team out there.
Harvey always does. There's big run off. One of the interesting stories of this Hawthorn premiership assault. The fact that they preferred Renouf since Simon Taylor was left out in round 22. Around the corner from Guerra out to Lewis.
Oh, Brendan!
Very keen to slow it down, Hawthorn, just for a little while, just to stop that run momentum that St Kilda have been able to generate.
Lewis, the leading possession winner on the ground. That was his 25th disposal, and Mitchell has just had his 22nd. He's number 2 on that board. Hawthorn haven't scored for 10 minutes. Just perhaps gone into neutral after really killing this game off in the first 5 or 6 minutes after half-time. Michael Osborne, who got on a goal-kicking role in the qualifying final against the Bulldogs. Rioli to Guerra. And the Hawks just happy to work it around patiently. No pressure right now. It is a cruise to the last Saturday in September for the Hawks. Rioli gives to Renouf. Very one-sided match this has been, and a one-sided final series. The closest game of the series thus far was last night's, 29 points. There's never been a final series in history without a margin of 25 points or less, which would suggest that history is in favour of a close game next week. St Kilda's ball here. Hutchton back to Goddard.
Hawthorn have been trying to slow the game down, and perhaps even the reason to be able to do that is just to stop momentum. They are a long way in front, of course. They've also got next week to consider, and they're not going to have the game their way the whole time next week. So maybe just something they want to put into practice.
Hudson to Goddard to Kazitsky, who stumbles but still takes the mark. And Sam Fisher for his 17th disposal of the night. Some rare space for Stephen Milne to relish. And again, falls short on the disposal. He's had a night to forget. Roughhead first, then Birchall with no real mates on the scene. Hodge comes at the right time. Clinton Jones, as robust as ever, so too Brad Sewell, who just wills himself through. And the Hawks again with all the answers when they matter. Although that could have been holding the man. Not paid.
The Hawthorn fans are loving it, the intensity.
Holding, Hawthorn.
Hawks ball, and they're happy about it. Renouf to take it. Simon Taylor, you mentioned Hutto, must be the most disappointed man in Hawthorn. Roughhead gives to Crawford. Taylor playing, well, 2 good seasons as Robert Campbell's 2 IC, and there really wasn't that much between them. And all of a sudden, on the eve of the finals, he's out. Renouf in. There's Bateman, and there was some symbolism about that as he was just too quick to the drop there for Harvey. Lewis, lovely long ball for Sewell. Marked it just above the chalk.
Great contest between Sewell and Lenny Hayes, 2 warriors.
Brad Sewell has fire in his eyes and in his belly.
Now this man can kick the ball.
He's just too far out, adjacent to the centre circle. Maybe he'll try the place kick. Draws Gillam up from the back half. Campbell, Brown, Schneider making the spoil and doing pretty well. Brown a hard man to suppress. Hodge up there had the line as his friend. Game fading away close to 3/4 time.
Big run-off, couldn't get anything meaningful on it. Del Santo's in territory and not much else. Here comes Revolt. Good desperation from Birchall. Through the contact, draws the free. As Snyder stumbles over the line. Some tired boys out there. Ooh.
A face paint from Campbell Brown.
Birchall.
Stuart Dew had a year out of football. He put on a fair bit of weight. He played in the Premiership with Port Adelaide. And Alistair Clarkson coached him there as an assistant at Port Adelaide, and he knew that he had one thing which not many players have got, and that is a thumping left foot kick. And with stars like Buddy Franklin and Roughhead in his team, he knew that players like Dew and Guerra came from Port Adelaide as well, that with their left foot they could create a fair bit of damage. And it's worked out well for Clarkson. He knew what he was getting, and it's been terrific for the Hawks.
Fiora to Clint Jones to Fisher, who's been thrust forward, but he didn't count on Hodge. And Roughhead and Dew unbending. The Hawks might still have one goal in them, or maybe not. Maybe it'll be the Saints. Goddard, low ball, Revolt versus 3. He created the contest, in fact, illegally so. And the Saints fans voiced their disapproval.
It's almost 50 points between the two teams, and yet the crowd is so vocal.
Feels like it's the end of the game, doesn't it?
It's Revolt frustrated there. He was arriving hard to try and mark. Now, whether he didn't go for the mark in the end in making the contact is the question. It's three-quarter time, and Hawthorn have put it way beyond St Kilda's reach in that quarter as they kicked 4 goals apiece. But the lead at the last change is 49 points.
1 quarter to go then.
He looks pretty worried about it.
Oh, look, I think also it says a lot about Buddy Franklin where his head's at. We speak about him all the time. There's a lot of hype around him, and yet he's played a subservient role to Williams tonight. He's been the main focal point. I think that says a lot about him.
So the last quarter of the second preliminary final is underway. Hawthorn with a 49-point lead. I suppose while there's time, there's hope, but St Kilda have got to kick 9 goals minimum.
Let him go. Let him go.
And they have 7 for the night. Ooh, just a little arm flying around there. Robert Campbell's ball. Bunny's up in midfield.
Good kick.
Just flipping it over the top for Campbell Brown, who's become an important late season cog in this Hawthorn front half machine. Franklin's there, Hutchton's with him. Gilbert roving. Del Santo. St Kilda have a few left footers as well. Harvey giving to Jones. There's a lot of Robert Flowers departure about Robert Harvey. Unrequited love of the game. Neither playing in a premiership and both bowing out in a preliminary final against Hawthorn, although Flower in rather more dramatic and tense circumstances.
And he got one in the face there, Nick Revolt, in that marking contest. He's pushing back towards centre half forward. Had a really good third quarter, kicking 3 goals. I reckon Ross Lyon would be saying to his players, win the last quarter on the scoreboard.
The ball wouldn't obey Brendan Goddard there, but he showed a bit of vigour and kept it alive for the Saints. Goddard 23 disposal, Mick Revolt's 3 goals, 8 marks for the night. They all came, the goals in that third quarter, of course. The Hawks' last grand final appearance, 1991. So a whole generation of Hawthorn fans haven't experienced the glory that their fathers and grandfathers before them have, but they certainly are going to enjoy this as Bateman surges forward. Williams, who was so good early. Buddy Franklin now sees off one and then just pokes it into the pocket.
He gave Robert Harvey the don't argue, and Harvey looked at the umpire and said, what about a free kick for the hand in the goal?
And the umpire said, don't argue.
And Harvey's got a case. Contact on or above the shoulder is illegal according to the laws of the game.
Mark Williams is looking for his fourth. He's kicked 3 goals, 3 tonight. Make it 4-3 now, and the Hawks celebrate again.
Franklin's only kicked 1, but he's doing that sort of thing. Everyone will be well pleased with him. And Mark Williams, icing on the cake for Hawthorn tonight, 4 goals. Williams having one of his best days or nights of this 2008 season. And what a season for the Hawks, and what lies ahead. Another grand final appearance after 17 years. Hawks ball again, and Ellis will take it. Brent Guerra played in those losing preliminary finals with St Kilda in 2004, 2005. Lewis been outstanding, so Sewell, big and strong and skilled. Franklin.
Got to give Hodgson a lot of credit, Tim.
Sewell, look at him go. What an effort. Good placement. Campbell Brown. Williams can kick his 5th. Or his 4th behind.
Clark. And now Lenny Hayes, who dramatically had that fitness test before the game started last week. Goddard, instead of kicking it clear, was smothered. And the Hawks, relentless pressure continues. Sam Fisher enters the fray as a ruckman. Again, Mitchell, so quick, too quick for anyone else with his handball. Milne goes the journey. Campbell Brown, as we mentioned, what a move that has proved to be for Hawthorn. Going forward, giving them more than just a bit of tackling and aggression.
Lenny Hayes copping a bit of treatment a moment ago. He's not the Hawk fans' favourite. Everyone loves Lenny Hayes, and the Hawk fans seem to hate him at the moment.
Mitchell gets it in. Hudson continuing to watch Franklin closely.
That's the 11th time there's been a one-on-one to Hodgson and Franklin. The 11th time, and I'd say Buddy might have won 1 or 2 of them.
It's a great effort, isn't it?
Hodgson's done a super job.
Perfect pass from Harvey to Eddie, and a bit of flow at last, but for how long for St Kilda? Fiora botched it in the end.
That's where they've broken down, St Kilda. St Kilda just haven't been able to find a way inside their forward 50. They've just broken down at times. Their intent's been great. Look at these contests there. Hodgson, he's a super defender, largely unheralded.
Well, Franklin's taken just the 1 mark, Vossi, and time and again, Hodgson been able to get the fist there, caused the spoil.
Ladson's had a quiet night, just 6 disposals. The ball is over and out.
They'll be making their assessments, of course, on Franklin, who plays there. Mackie started the last time. Of course, you'd expect Scarlett to get that chance.
I think Mackie was there for about 5 minutes, Vossi.
Well, after he took about 3 contested marks, I'd move him too.
Franklin was due for a finals failure. He had 18 from 3 finals matches before this at 6 a game. That average will come down a bit tonight. Free kick to St Kilda and a clean takeaway on the advantage call. Goddard to Hayes. Kajitsky attacking and losing his footing. Pulled down. Free kick. Kajitsky goalless for the night. Just 3 marks.
Well, do you have a thought on Kajitsky and where he plays into the future?
I think he needs to shuffle between full forward and the ruck. I don't think he's good enough to be a permanent key forward. And as such, you need to give him a chance to have a run on the ball.
A lucky free kick on the replay and a just result. He lost his footing and really...
A very, very lucky free kick. Justin Kazitsky, he tries hard and he's got a lot of courage, but he's no great player by a long stretch, and that's what he's got to prove for the rest of his career, that he is a good AFL player.
Mitchell onto the wing. Lewis kept it in. Always optimistic. I guess one thing he's had this year, Wolsey, is a relative continuity of footy, apart from when he got reported. So if he can get another pre-season behind him, and it's always been the main worry, isn't it?
Yeah, and at his age, around the 25, he should be coming into his best couple of years.
Williams to Bateman.
For a big man.
But he's coming again. So is Osborne. Squashed. Gwilt. Hawks fans thought that might have been holding the ball. Raf Clark needed to act quicker than that. Rioli. Not quite. Goddard saving the day, and over to Montagna.
Wolsey, one man they'll also, Geelong will have to put a lot of work into is Chance Bateman. He really provides their dash and their run. He links, he runs through the lines, he sets up their play, runs extremely hard.
Fine mark.
I reckon the thing with Chance Bateman, Vossi, you might say Cameron Ling will go for him, but Bateman, he'll go for one of the Geelong midfielders. He'll go for a Selwood or a Corey or an Ablett.
And a good placement by Revolt, having pulled down his 9th mark of the night. He gives it to Sam Fisher, who can have a rare shot at goal. It's 3 for the season and 7 for his career. Undaunted, Fisher slots it straight through the middle for the Saints' 8th. Well, he hasn't taken any better than that tonight. True contested mark. And a well-disciplined and controlled kick.
So 2 goals for the night for Sam Fisher. Revolt with 3. And Montagna, Snyder and Fiora, the other goal kickers. 4-4 for Mark Williams and 3 goals for Jared Ruffhead for the Hawks. A couple to Cyril Rioli and also to Clinton Young.
Play on, not 15, play on!
They heard the instructions, maybe Renouf wasn't quick enough to react, but they got out of it anyway, and they get rolling through the middle. Sewell involved again, and Mitchell, Campbell, if he can just stand up, could have had a shot for goal. Crawford hunted by Graham, that was well played. Goddard. Under the pump, and under a bit more, and I'll tell you what, this is going to be interesting.
That'll be looked at.
And Mark Williams knows it, I reckon. I reckon he knows it.
Well, we'll get a look at it on replay and just see how dangerous it was, what Williams did.
Yes, it was just a moment of rashness. I don't think it was intended as malice, but they play unsociable football. He was being intentionally unsociable. And your social habits can get you into trouble these days, of course, as Mitchell sits it up for Franklin. Yes! Buddy, and he gives it away. And Williams, well, he'll have mixed feelings about that, but he's just kicked his 5th. 5 goals for to Mark Williams, but he just might find himself under scrutiny for this. In fact, I'm sure he will. It'll have to be looked at.
I think he might.
I reckon he's all right.
I reckon he's all right too.
I reckon he's all right. I think he's turned his body enough.
Yeah, I reckon he's hit the back and the shoulder more so than the head. I think he's okay, Mark Williams.
Although in particular seems the way the match review panel seem to be going at the moment.
Well, it certainly didn't look good early, did it? What are you stating, Hutto?
I just think September's a generous month.
I just stated what I stated.
I tell you what, Maxie Hutchie to be happy that Franklin handballed that.
It's the season of goodwill to all men, Hutto.
Is it? It's a bit early for that, isn't it?
That's September.
Sewell.
No.
It would be. I mean, Mark Williams, 5 goals tonight.
Have a look at Luke Hodge in that contest there. Eyes on the ball, body on line. His team's in a grand final, doesn't matter. He'll still go the distance.
I think it's about now also that Clarkson can start resting his players, just to lighten the load. Probably knowing what he's like, though, he'll want to play right to the death. Anything can lighten the load in the back end of a game will help.
There's been 87 to 64 interchanges Hawthorn's way tonight, so they are giving plenty of rotations.
Bossy, when you played for Brisbane and you're in those grand finals 4 in a row, did you ever get a chance in a preliminary to lighten the load, or did they all go down to the line?
No, we did have a couple where we went okay. So it's normally the last 5-10 minutes of a game where it starts to get really hard, where you're really fatigued. So you're starting to about clock over to that time now, where if you can just take that edge off, it really helps in your recovery.
Richmond in 01 you did, didn't you, I think?
Yeah, and Port also we did okay.
Humble to the end, was he?
20 gone.
I just like Geelong, mate.
Del Santo.
Good kick.
Yeah, it was a good kick, wasn't it?
He spotted the big ruckman going down from centre half forward to full forward and just pulled the kick, did Del Santo.
Do you think St Kilda will do any trading at all in the off-season, Wolsey, or they just go for the draft and see what they can come up with?
Gee, I need a bit of time to think about that, Hutto. Thanks for that one.
There's another article for you.
No, there's always a chance to trade, but I think predominantly they need to draft and build and develop their own.
But they were linked with Daniel Kerr a while ago, and Ben Cousins' name has also been raised. Would either of those two interest them, do you think?
I think Daniel Kerr would interest St Kilda for sure. That's really what they need, is some speed in the midfield. You know, obviously Rob Harvey will retire. Lenny Hayes isn't quick. Del Santo's not real quick.
So a throw in. Hawthorn by 54 points with half a quarter left. Aaron Fiora late inclusion. Luke Ball didn't line up, so his season ended a few weeks ago. Goddard, clever play, taking it out of the air and getting it straight onto his boot, but Crode has a good win over Revolt. Revolt's certainly not disgraced, he never is, but the odds have been overwhelming. Saints have taken it into their 50 just 30 times in 3.5 quarters, and it looks as though they'll be below the Hawthorn average. They normally restrict their opponent to a figure of about 43 this year, and they've been the best restrictors in the business on that count. St Kilda just 30 with half a quarter left. Tough to kick a winning score. The crowd's just been posted at 77,002. So it is the largest of the final series, just above the number for last Saturday night's game here between Collingwood and St Kilda. Hutchton claiming the mark there. Wasn't paid, but is able to dish it to Raph Clark. Now Montagna. And Jason Blake. No front half heroics from Joe tonight. Kicked those 3 goals against Hawthorn the night of the comeback at the Dome. He might get a shot at it here. He gives it away to Graham. Goddard, Jones will have to find it now. There'll be a ball up.
Good sign for Hawthorn is that Trent Crode has stood up. Big question marks whether he'd play tonight, but the big fella, he looks like he's got through the game quite okay.
That's high, Robbie Campbell. Shoulder.
Campbell to take the free. So I guess the question is now, Rob, one of the questions, one of the many that'll be asked during the week, is what will Geelong have seen tonight about Hawthorn, and how concerned will they be?
Well, I think obviously they'd be concerned about Roughhead and Franklin, but Williams would come to the fore with his performance tonight. They would already know that players like Mitchell and Sewell and Lewis are hard and tough in close. They look very closely at Bateman, as Vossi said. You know, Bateman is a wonderful player, but I don't think the Cats can go and tag Bateman, because he won't let that happen. He'll say, I'll go after one of the terrific Geelong midfielders, Bartel or Ablett or Corey.
There's some wonderful midfield matchups next week, isn't it? It'll be interesting to see who decides to be attacking and who decides to be defensive. Clinton Jones setting it up for who?
And that sort of a kick, as we've seen it half a dozen times, just a bomb and hope into the forward line for St Kilda. And the coaching staff will tear their hair out when they see that.
That's been their undoing a lot, hasn't it, this year when they've played poorly. Latson could go. We had no one there at all, but he decides to go back and maybe savour the moment a little more and have a set shot, taking no chances. He really did pull up very sore and probably wouldn't have played last week if the Hawks had to.
And here's Lewis. Well, he's just decided to keep him honest, and then he does the old boo. A little bit delay, so some more unsociable football, Tim.
Latson trots in and he misses. I know Dermot Brereton was the football director at Hawthorn at the time when the likes of Jordan Lewis were picked up, and one of the policies was they had to be tough when they went on their recruiting drive, and that's certainly a trademark of this Hawthorn group.
I'd be careful with about 6.5 minutes to go that I'm starting to throw punches into the midriff, though. The grand final next week.
Schneider with the chance for the Saints. In fact, Milne now with the open goal in front of him. His first of the night. And isn't it funny, he had 2 golden opportunities in the first quarter. He should have had 2 goals by quarter time. In 17 of the last 18 games in which he's kicked 3 goals, St Kilda have won. 3 goals to Milne is the barometer of St Kilda's success. If he'd kicked the 2 in the first quarter, plus that one, they were still losing.
Well summed up. Danielle, wife of Robert Harvey, 3 children.
And another clearance to Mitchell. That's 8 for the game.
Well done again. The points to Hudson. Fisher took a fair while, but he's eventually able to get it clear. And Hudson's got Lenny Hayes on the go. And again, Raf Clark. 24 disposals. Into trouble and never really got out of it that time. Rioli dishes for Ellis. Lewis a bit of a fumble. Fisher and Harvey and Eddie and McWalter and Graham, and 1 handball too many. Graham keeps it up and alive, and the Hawks they've got to be a little careful, as we mentioned, with only 6 minutes to go. Guerra that time. Handball off to Goddard. They're forward for Revolt. He'll probably take this. No, he didn't. Milne, the little scavenger, goes to work again. But the thief this time was Ladson.
Michael, who do you think Geelong will play on Buddy? Have a think about it, because Hudson has played him so close. When Buddy's gone down into the middle of the ground, Hudson stayed back, but he's taken him every time that Buddy's been in the forward 50 and then worn him like a glove. I'm not sure there are any Geelong defenders who play that tightly because they back themselves.
Here's Luke Hodge, just with a little bit of chin music for Jason Graham. Nothing too malicious, just vaguely unsociable.
Look, I think that there's 2 ways they can go. They can go Harry Taylor, and the rest of the defence helps them out. That's what they've done for most of the year. And the Scarlets and these guys help them out. I just don't think that Taylor's up for the job. They go through him too much. And I just think that the way that they play, Scarlett just has to be the man. He's been the best defender for a few seasons now. They just need to get Scarlett onto him and get some help from the defence.
I reckon that'll be the talking point through the week, who the Cats play on Buddy.
And maybe the thought when they went with Mackie last time was when Franklin does get up the ground, he can run with him. It's just in those one-on-one contests, that's not Mackie's strength. That's Franklin's.
So the Hawks soaking up the seconds in the dying minutes of this preliminary final. They're on their way to the last Saturday in September. Luke Hodge, able-bodied by the look of it, will be there.
This man's interesting for mine, though.
He is a star.
Possession or disposal number 19. He gives to Franklin, just not hanging on to them. He's got to be careful too about front-on contact. McWalter, quiet night tonight. Harvey, will that be his last disposal? Crawford, a fairy tale coming true for Shane Crawford. Hayes takes it away. It's going to come back though. Birchall.
That hit of Buddy, the steam train, on Ref Clark has absolutely shaken Ref up.
Hodge, lovely long ball for Roughhead, who is a big strong man, and even Sam Fisher was unable to prize it away. That's no goal.
Ref Clark in picture.
Paid.
Yeah, Ref Clark's really hurting, and I'm just not sure he protected himself. He just should have been ready to, you know, curl up and go crunch. He left himself a bit open there, Ref, and paid the penalty.
Good on him, he's staying out there, Rob.
He is. And I really admire what Raf Clark has done the last 2 weeks. I reckon they're the best 2 weeks of his career. And his brother needs to apply himself, get bigger, get stronger. He's been in the system a long while if he wants to be a good player.
Roughhead, 15 disposals, half a dozen marks, and 4 goals straight. One in every quarter to the big red from Liam Gaffer. And the margin's out to 54.
Jared Roughhead's just kicked his 4th goal. As soon as he's kicked it, he's sprinted down the other end of the ground. He's now at centre-half back, standing in front of Nick Revolt.
Roughhead's kicked a goal in each quarter. Franklin sits down, and the Hawks fans already can't wait for next week. Brad Sewell, he's another one.
No advantage.
The one thing Hawthorn are going to have to prepare like, though, is to prepare to win this grand final, not prepared to participate. And I know that sounds silly, but it happens all the time.
Hey, have a look at that, Bossy, what you were saying. Hodge, Crode and Franklin sitting on the bench. Exactly what you said. The last 5-8 minutes, get the cream off.
Hold the arm, Sam Gilbert. You held his arm like that. Play on.
This one goes the other way to Sam Gilbert. If he went against him early in the game.
And I want to elaborate on that point a little bit. Sometimes you can get to a point where you get happy being in a grand final, and there's still one little hurdle to go. And Hawthorn, they're ready to be able to take on the Cats. They've shown all year they're the second best team in the competition. Now they've got to show them that they are the best. It's going to be a challenge, no doubt. And there's a small psychological meaning to that, but it's a big one.
What's your early feeling, Vossi, as to who'll win the grand final?
I think Geelong is still the best team. I still think that they're a 4 or 5 goal better side than the next team in the competition. But the great thing is that you don't have to be the best team of the year. You just got to be the best team on the day, and that's what Hawthorn have the capability to do.
Here's Roughhead. Crawford, Campbell-Brown. Nothing on for him at all. Absolutely nothing. That's why he walked out of bounds, and the umpire said it was deliberate. And it probably was.
Play on his inside, play on.
Revolt just kicks it as far as he can. And big Stephen King was the target. And Hawks get it up and away. Initially it was Ellis, then Mitchell and Bateman and Mitchell again. Campbell through the middle. 10 disposals this quarter, 33 for the game for Sam Mitchell. Campbell off to Birchall. He's got Lewis to give to, which he does. No, he doesn't. He goes to Guerra. And he gives down to Mark Williams, who's entertained us for much of the night with 5 goals, 4.
Might even fancy his chances from here. There's a shot of Buddy Franklin, and they have packed a mountain of ice on that thumb.
Stuart Dew.
I've I've got no doubt he's okay, just precautionary.
Well, what a story he is too when you go back to draft day last year and the reported disagreement between the coach and the list manager as to whether they would go with a young defender out of Western Australia. Well, this man, Stuart Dew, his experience has been lent on in the lead up to this preliminary final, and no doubt will be again through the next week. He's been put into the leadership group. And he's been a handy player so far. Campbell gets it down. Lenny Hayes. Advantage from Del Santo to Milne. Little chipping ball. And Snyder can take it away.
And take it way over the line.
Hawthorn are coming into a grand final, of course, and there's no better feeling waking up Sunday knowing you're in a grand final. Largely it's unexpected. They don't know how to act, how they should behave for the week. Geelong, well, it's all familiar. They know what's going to happen. They know what to expect in the parade and the build-up and the Brownlow medal. All those things that go with the grand final hype. It doesn't mean one iota of a difference, though, between a team that's been there and a team that hasn't, because the motivation is still the same.
So the Hawks soak up the final seconds. It has been a magnificent performance by Alistair Clarkson, unheralded, and really the despised outsider of 3 new coaches who were appointed 4 years ago. And he it is who will lead Hawthorn to a grand final.
The list management by the Hawks over the last 4 years has been fantastic. It's the way to build a team.
There it is. It's over for one of the greats, one of the greatest of the game, the dual Brownlow medalist after 383 games. But it's not over for the Hawks. They are 54-point winners. They are into their first grand final in 17 years. They will meet the Cats next Saturday afternoon for the 2008 flag.
Doesn't it set up a fantastic grand final? 1989 revisited. Let's get down to Mark Howard.
Well, Luke Hodge, the Hawks are in a grand final. A wonderful night for the football club.
Yeah, exactly right. It was, we know it was going to be a big contest out here, and the way the boys started off and finished the game was superb.
Now, tell us about your own game, mate. How's the body? How's the ribs?
Yeah, no, it's all right. Just I've got a bit of padding through there, so it wasn't too bad.
It's all right, Hodgie. You're spitting up blood. The doctors were chasing you around with a stethoscope, and you're telling everyone there you're all right and you'll be right for next week?
Yeah, mate. No, yeah, we'll be fine. We'll regroup this week, and it's going to be a big game against Geelong.
Andy Marr?
Thanks very much, Howie. How does it feel, mate, after all these years into a grand final?
It's probably been the most nerve-wracking week for me ever in my football career, because I just really wanted an opportunity, not only to play in a grand final, but to try and win one. And I'm a bit lost for words at the moment, to be honest.
We've been viewing Hawthorn partially at times, even as late as this year, as a work in progress. Do you feel like this group's now ready to go all the way next week?
When we play at our best, we're a fantastic footy side, and obviously we need everyone contributing. But you know, I thought tonight was a real big test for us to show that we can go on with it. We've been in good form in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and it was so important to come out and play physical football tonight. And you know, everyone played their role. Even you look at Lance Franklin, who didn't kick a lot of goals, but you know, the way he worked for the team, and it opened up the forward line for us. And you know, it was just total team football tonight.
I get the sense that you're genuinely overwhelmed about what you're part of at the moment.
Yeah, I am. 17 years, mate. It's taken me to have an opportunity like this, and you know, I can't wait.
I think Robert Harvey came into this final series as everybody's sentimental favourite, mate. I reckon you might be that man this week.
Robert Harvey's a star, and you know, I'm so glad I was able to play against him in his last game, because he, you know, he's been a role model for me from a very young age, and I want to get over and see him before he gets...
Well done. Have a great week. Thanks you, lads.
Let him go, Andy. Alistair Clarkson embracing. Of course, Al was on the assistant coaching panel down at St Kilda under Tim Watson, so would know Robert Harvey so well. It's an emotional moment. Look at that. Those two great champs of the game. Almost 700 games between them. 21 seasons for Robert Harvey, boys.
No other player in the history of the game has spanned 21 seasons. Not Michael Tuck, not Kevin Bartlett, not Dick Reynolds. Only Robert Harvey.
And I would say everybody in the stadium is standing in acknowledgement and respect and love for Robert Harvey.
Bittersweet it is. More September disappointment for the Saints. But what a champ.
Played in a grand final, a losing one in '97.
Yep.
Alas, there's not to be one in 2008, but it is a career that none of us will forget. An absolutely admired and loved Australian rules footballer.
For the Hawks, the premiership dream lives on. Jeff Kennett, a very proud president tonight. They'll take on Geelong next week, and what a game it should be. They've won this by 54 points in grand style.